Welcome in to a Tuesday edition of Your Wildest Fantasy Football Show. We are back, week 8 in the books, moving on to week 9 very soon, but we have a couple of recaps to do before we get into waivers. And also, it's trade deadline day today. So for the NFL, the trade deadline is at 4 p.m. Eastern, I believe, today. So we will, at the end of today's show, be breaking down the trades that we would like to see happen as far as fantasy implications, giving some guys some opportunities that may have struggled so far. Putting them in some good fantasy production spots. But before all that, we have to talk about the game last night.
Right.
The Kansas City Chiefs squeaking out a victory over the New York Giants. We talked about this game a little bit yesterday and talked about just how we both thought that it was going to be a rebound game for Kansas City, kind of like get right game where they may take advantage of this Giants team. But we didn't really see anything different than what's happened throughout the year. I mean, all those tipped interceptions and like just really everything that can go wrong going wrong for the Kansas City Chiefs.
It was a rough game to watch if you were a big Patty or Travis Kelce, either owner or enthusiast going into the game, just because of how lackluster the offense kind of looked outside of Tyreek. And I mean, Darrell Williams had a game, but I think Tyreek, obviously, the fans numbers show it, but like watching the game, it was the Tyreek show, just hitting him for quick screen swings and little 5-yard, 10-yard outs. It was really just his game.
Yeah, Tyreek with 27.4 fantasy points last night, 12 catches, 94 yards, saw a crazy 18 targets. He also had a touchdown to put on to that. I'm not worried about Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce had probably the most disappointing game of possibly his fantasy football career, maybe the season. 4 catches, 27 yards on 7 targets, 4.7 fantasy points. He also had a fumble that knocked that down a bit. I'm not worried about him going forward or anything, but I am worried about just this team. I don't know how much that trickles into fantasy production, though, in a weird way.
So this is Patrick's like second week in a row of, a lack of performance. I don't even know what words to use to describe it, but he had 7-14 this week. People were taking Patrick Mahomes like the second round. Like I did a draft for Patrick, actually the first pick off the board. So like crazy people, but like he went early, and like you liked it for the first 5-6 games, but now he's past 2, shaking your head. But I'm with you. I don't know if it's a fantasy thing or if it's a team thing, like in real football. It's kind of confusing just because they have the talent. Like there's no team in football who has a better wide receiver, tight end, and quarterback combo than the Chiefs, in my opinion. Like, I don't think you have one that's better.
And they're still going to throw the ball a lot, so it doesn't worry me for Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill, obviously, after coming off a 27-point game.
Right.
And the offense still had a lot of pieces, even Darrell Williams putting up 17.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Gore, I wrote down who the hell is Derek Gore, had 11.48 in the touchdown for 10.8 fantasy points on the day. So, like, everyone really besides Patty is getting fantasy production here.
Right.
If you have Patrick Mahomes, are you like panicking on him? Or are you I don't think you can panic sell Patrick Mahomes.
I don't think you can panic sell Patrick Mahomes for a good price. In terms of quarterback, I don't think you have another guy in the league who has as good of a shot to be the number one fantasy quarterback as Patrick Mahomes. I mean,
besides Josh Allen.
Yeah, I mean, like Josh Allen and even Tom Brady, but Tom Brady is just having numbers this year. sure. I don't know. Like, if you try to sell him, I'm not like questioning you now. Like I was like last week. I thought he was going to come back against the Giants, but now I'm not like as shocked or like confused if you do try to trade.
Fair. As for the Giants side of things, there's not too much to talk about. I think the big news just with the trade deadline today, like we mentioned, Evan Ingram had 10.5 fantasy points. He has been sprinkled in some rumors. The one that I've seen is to the Packers, but I think there's a lot of people that might be in the Evan Ingram sweepstakes, or he might just not go anywhere.
Probably not going to.
So I guess this Evan Ingram news matters more if he is traded. Would you say that?
I think so. Also, I mean, if Saquon comes back, I think that helps alleviate it. But depends on the team he goes to. Would definitely sway like Evan Ingram's fantasy value. I like the Packers. I really do like the Packers as one.
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely be an interesting place with Rob Tonyan out for the rest of the year. So, as for that, we should see Saquon back on this team. Devontae Booker had a good game this week. 15 for 60, 5 catches for 65 yards, 17.5 and full point PPR. Definitely feel good about, well, one, if Saquon can come back against the Raiders, but it is a good defense. If Saquon is not to go, would you be starting Devontae Booker? I guess it depends also on who you have, but how is your confidence with Devontae Booker as a fill-in for Saquon?
This week against the Raiders, I like it. Raiders seem to be tougher against the pass than they are against the run. And, I mean, they're kind of giving him the ball. Like, they're giving him an opportunity. I mean, he had 20 touches last night, 15 on the ground, 15 or 5 through the air. So I like his value in full point PPR more than I do half point. Just because the Giants O-line is, I think, what they need.
Agreed. Revenge game for Booker if Saquon is out. Kenny says, we had, he used to be on the Raiders. Everyone who listens to the show knows that we are big revenge game believers. So, yeah, they might even sit Saquon just so Booker gets his full revenge, and then Booker will go off.
You heard it here first. 35 points for Devontae Booker.
Mm-hmm. As for the other news from this past week, before we get into our waiver discussion, there was, some would say, the biggest game of the weekend, which we have not covered yet. And it involves the two of us here.
Just amazing week I had this week.
Unfortunately, wasn't enough.
Not enough.
But
absolute to die for.
There was a real fight in this league between the two of us. Obviously, there was a lot of, I'd say, like a lot of tension coming into the week and a lot riding on the line. A lot of words were said. Someone may have said, "I can't wait to destroy your team."
You did indeed. You did.
To the other person. I don't want to name names and who said that, but they meant what they said and they backed it up is what I would say.
Right.
So obviously breaking down the numbers right here, 44.56 points for Cody in his full lineup. Cody, what do you have to say either to your team or about your team this week?
So, I mean, I think every single person on my team had a season low. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders, 0. Justin Jefferson with 4. Not going to happen every week.
He actually had 3.1.
Great, even worse. Kyler Murray with under 10. Not going to happen. Kind of guessed Myles Gaskin. You called it just, it's an even week, so, single digit. I was happy with Cordell, happy with Tyler. Defense was a little rough. Might have had to start another one, but I had faith in the Bears. It was just a rough week overall, Rough week.
Yeah, I mean, definitely tough to win when you have 44.56. Definitely tough to win when your opponent puts up 135.8. But you know what? I'll give you I'll cut you a little slack here. I don't need to trash talk too much. This is a 12 team league. Second take extra. I think I would trash talk more if you didn't put up 44.56. And because of that, just as like an act of pity, I think I will leave you be.
Yeah, I mean, there's not like it'd be different if I feel like if people put up decent numbers, but it is what it is. I mean, I'd rather die with Kyler Murray as my starter than, someone else or Justin Jefferson in the lineup over a Trey Lance or Jordan Love or someone like that,
The second take extra brings up a big point too. Another reason why I will not trash talk is because you only deserve 2/3 of the blame because you are 2/3 of the ownership of this team along with John Smith.
I thought it was John Smith, and Cody Humphrey. Or is it Cody Humphrey, John Smith?
It says John Smith, Cody Humphrey.
Yep, I do only deserve 2/3 of it.
So I think maybe we can get John Smith on the show sometime, and he will be able to explain his part of why this team has gone wrong. If I were you, I would blame most of the managerial decisions here on John Smith.
I'm more the face of the company, and he is the guy who makes day-to-day operations happen. So, he's going to have to talk about it. He's going to lose a salary bonus over it, but it's no big deal.
Fair enough. Yeah, and for my team, hey, just happy to get another win on the board. These guys are a talented group. I did start Scary Terry over Adam Thielen. That decision didn't work out, but in the end, it was all okay.
It's very okay for you.
Back to, I think, the discussion that most people care about,
Waiver,
which is anything besides our own teams.
Anything but our own team.
And that is Week 9 waivers. Kind of a refreshing waiver discussion this week. We actually have people to talk about.
Right.
There's actually a good amount of people available on waivers this week. So let's jump right into it. Should be a fun discussion.
Could be.
As for, I don't know if I want to start with quarterbacks for you because there's going to be a quarterback discussion later.
I think we might as well get it out the way. Might as well get it right out the way.
Should we? I guess it doesn't matter too much.
I think we just, if we talk about it now, we won't have to talk about it later. Because otherwise, we're going to talk about it now and bring it up later. And it's going to be double the conversation. I will go with my two quarterbacks. I think this week have a chance. Tyrod Taylor, if he is healthy. They are playing Miami. Houston's playing Miami. I like Tyrod. Put up 23 in week 1. I think if he's healthy, he is going to have a game. He put up 16 and a half. So, on pace for 30-something points. I think he is a good option, especially against Miami. If he is going to play, I'm still dealing with the hamstring. But if he plays, I like Tyrod. If not, my second guy, Trevor Siemian, the New Orleans quarterback. I think I butchered his name, but it's okay.
No, you got it.
Nah, probably. Great. I like him. I know you are going to take the opposite side, but I'm going to say why I like him. I like him because no other quarterback is healthy on that team, and they're playing the Falcons this week. So I like Trevor Siemian. It obviously helps when you have Alvin Kamara to just give the ball to, and that alleviates a lot of the pressure. So it also helps when you're playing Atlanta Falcons. So I like him this week for sure. And he's rostered in literally 0 leagues. So you can get him if you want him.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to talk about Taysom Hill later. He's actually my 3rd overall pickup that I would go with on waivers. I love Taysom Hill as a fantasy quarterback. If you look just at the kind of production that he's put up when he started, he started a 4-game stretch last season. He put up 24, 17, 23.5, and 19. So pretty strong replacement number. What replacement level numbers from a quarterback, a guy that we know can run and get you those rushing touchdowns as well. I'm thinking a little bit more long-term than just this week. I think that they say he is in what was the wording that they used with him?
They said he is
on schedule in his recovery process,
but they didn't give a timetable.
Correct. So I'm not sure if that means he is back for this week. I kind of expect him to be, and I expect that when he is back, he will be the starter. So even if he's not back this week, I do like Taysom Hill as a QB option going forward whenever he does return, which I would expect would be this week or next week.
I mean, I like Taysom Hill as a player. Literally the Swiss Army knife of the National Football League. He'll run it for you, throw it for you, catch it for you, tackle, do anything you want. Like ultimate player, ultimate guy. But just for fantasy purposes, I think Trevor Siemian has a better chance of starting this week than Taysom Hill. And if Trevor plays well, I don't see how it's like an insta, just like, hey, you played good, but Taysom's our guy. Like, I don't think it is that just because they can utilize him so many other ways. Like, he can come in for a couple snaps and either throw it or run it for you, and it just confuses the defense. So I like that option a little bit more, just if I'm going to like pick a guy from the team. Also, to note, I think we talked about it earlier on. Didn't either Michael Thomas or Alvin Kamara take a hit when Taysom Hill was the starter? Starter, I'm pretty sure one, if not both of them.
I'm pretty sure Michael Thomas, I mean, I can look that up. You're going to have to stall for me while I find that. I was not ready to have that discussion.
I'm just thinking like rest of fantasy value as far as like if Taysom Hill is the starter. I think it was either Alvin Kamara or Michael Thomas lost. I think it was Alvin Kamara, to be honest.
I believe it was. I think Michael Thomas actually surprisingly played just as well.
Right.
So it might have been, if it was anybody, I think it was Kamara.
Kamara loses some of the fantasy value because he's no longer with Taysom back there. Taysom has a tendency to just run the football himself when things break down instead of looking for Kamara to give him a couple of those easy give me yards and reception points. I mean, were you able to find the numbers or no?
I'm almost at it. So Taysom started for weeks 11 through 14 of last season against Atlanta, Philly, Kansas City. Oh, Atlanta, Denver, Atlanta, and Philly. Sorry. And Kamara put up 10.5, 5.2, 15.7, and 15.4. So not disgusting numbers. He also had 3 touchdowns in that stretch. So I guess that makes them worse on the surface there.
3 touchdowns and still averaging, I believe, 11 points or something like that. 45 divided by 4, something like that, like 11 points a game. especially for Alvin Kamara. That's the only thing I think fantasy-wise that like would have a different effect if it's Taysom or if it's Trevor. I think that the wide receivers kind of will stay the same. I don't think no one's going to take a huge bump in the active guys right now. I think Kamara takes a bigger hit than anyone else if it is Hill over Trevor.
I got to correct myself there because in rushing to pull it up, they were standard numbers, not full point numbers. So it was actually 10.5, 6.2, 17.7, and 22.4.
Oh, okay. How dare you, Kondo? How dare you just lie to the people?
I wouldn't say that it was a lie.
Exactly what it was.
And then Michael Thomas put up 19.4, 9.1, 19.5, and 16.4. So we still have a long way to see if Michael Thomas is going to return. Who knows what is going to happen in that mess. Moving on to running backs, I think this is where I can start some of the discussion. I think there's a 1A and a 1B here, in my opinion. And I think that there may be discussion for this because there are a lot of running back options and none of them are certain by any means.
Right.
So I don't think I would disagree with anyone switching these up. And especially because in both of these backfields in Philly and Tennessee, there are two backs that you could choose to go with. So I don't know that I would argue with any changing of one or the other, but my 1A, depending if you need a little bit more of a boost in the short term, is Boston Scott. Obviously had some strong production last week where the Eagles finally decided to run the ball, and he was also kind of leading the charge. We saw Jordan Howard get the majority of the red zone carries. I think it was 8-3 in favor of Howard. So that scares me a little bit. But I think that when we see more passing game work for these running backs, it will be in favor of Boston Scott. And I mean, he was the lead back. We didn't see Jordan Howard until somewhere around the second quarter. And he still got 2 touchdowns. So he was still getting carries at the goal line. So I'm not sure that they are necessarily afraid to use him at the goal line.
I don't think they're afraid to use him. Yeah, Boston Scott was on my list. I like it. It is a Philadelphia offense. Be that as it may. I don't know. I mean, Jalen Hurts definitely helps alleviate the need for him to be spectacular every single play. So I like it, and I like Boston Scott. I put Jeremy McNicholas over him, though.
Josh Nichols.
Yeah, sure. Nichols from Breaking Bad. I put him over him just because Tannehill's not a runner. So he's less likely to, he's less likely to take off and run it himself than Hurts is. So I feel like Nichols could benefit from a couple, dump off passes. Unlike Boston Scott is going to be in a committee. That's the only reason I put Nichols over him. But I don't.
Do you not think that McNichols is going to be in committee?
I think he is, but I think Philadelphia always had a committee, whereas Tennessee, I mean, granted they have Derrick Henry, but you don't really see anyone else. I think it's definitely more many than it was when Derrick Henry was healthy, but I think this is the part of barring any trades. So as everyone guess, and off the score, first waiver pick again in the league that you're in. So that league is going to wait until the deadline before I put in a claim, because as I talked about, there could potentially be a trade that would make sense for Tennessee this year. But yeah, I like McNichols. I like him. He was he'd be my 1A over Scott being 1B. But I don't hate either of them. but Boston shot first. Probably crazy. Yes, you're.
I think I heard most of that.
Yeah.
It was about every other word, but I think I got the gist of it. I am more worried
Okay.
about Jeremy McNichols, not necessarily because of him,
Mm-hmm.
but Tennessee was very quick to bring in Adrian Peterson. Like, it was the Derrick Henry surgery news, and then it was Adrian Peterson coming in and getting signed, and all of that kind of happening very fast. So it made me feel like there was a plan in place for Adrian Peterson, and that's why he is the 1B
Oh,
on my list. I think that he is going to be the early down guy. I still have Jeremy McNichols as my number 4 option behind Taysom Hill. I think that it is going to be split, and I would be lying if I said I know how the split is going to work out.
mm-hmm.
But just seeing kind of how this Tennessee team operates. One, they like their big backs, obviously, with Derrick Henry being there. Adrian Peterson fits kind of into the mold of what a Derrick Henry was, I would say. So I think they would like to have Adrian Peterson on the field because of that. 2, I don't think I think it's a long shot that Adrian Peterson plays on third downs, but
Right.
I don't think it would be crazy that he would play on third downs. Does that make any sense? Because we didn't see Derrick Henry as a pass catcher, and then Tennessee just chose to make him one. Adrian Peterson actually did end up catching more passes later in his career when he made his runs to Detroit and some of these other teams. I don't see that being his main role. I see McNichols being involved, but for me, I think there's just a better chance that Peterson pulls away than McNichols. And I just I cannot doubt Adrian Peterson with just all that we've seen from him.
Yeah, and Adrian has an insane reputation. Even here at age 50, whatever he is now, to get like 10, 25 is average 3.9 yards, score 7 times last year in 2020. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to doubt Adrian Peterson, and yes, Tennessee loves their backs. But Jeremy has just hands. He's got hands. I think he's been, what, 5, 4, 3, 4 here, and he's been 20.
I don't know what you're saying.
You're not here. Babe, are you in the what?
But I mean, McNichols has caught a pass in every single game this year. Actually had a high of 8 catches in New York against the Jets, where he had 8 for 74, 16.5 fantasy points. So I do think McNichols is going to be involved. And I think that's pretty much just like a guessing game at this point for which one of these guys you prefer. I'm leaning Adrian Peterson just because of, I think, the name and the history and how I think it would be different if they took a long time, but it seemed like his name was at the top of a list somewhere where they were pretty prepared that he would be the guy. And I don't think they would be that prepared unless they planned on using him. Now, again, that could be as a compliment to McNichols. So I don't really know. I don't think any of us know which one of these guys will be the leader back there.
Right. I mean, they're playing Rams. I guess Rams now have a defender at other with Donald, Miller, Ramsey. Who knows? It would be interesting. I more with Jeremy just because of the fact that he has more of a side and PPR. that's just like a thing to happen. Like
He has more pass catching upside.
right, like I think like catching a pass and running for 5 yards gets you 5 points, whereas getting 2 catches, running it for 10 yards only gets you 1 point. So, I think the touches don't necessarily mean you're going to need everything from Jeremy, but we will see.
Gotcha. Any other running backs that you put on your list? Any other running backs that you put on your list?
No, just the and Jeremy. Sorry, I was zoning.
I had Latavius Murray again on mine. He's available in 70% of leagues. He's a lead running back for one of the most run-heavy teams in football. I think that deserves to be rostered at least. I don't think you're like pumped to have Latavius Murray on your team, but like, I mean, he's getting work there and kind of the same. It's still the same expectation from the beginning of the season is that the efficiency is not going to be great, but he's going to get 13 carries a game and has as good of a chance to fall into the end zone as most backs in the NFL. And if you're getting that just simply in free agency or on waivers, then I think that is worth a pickup. Also worth just a look, maybe not your top waiver pickup, but a guy to look at is Carlos Hyde because of the James Robinson day-to-day designation. So still, I think there's a decent possibility that we see James Robinson get the week off.
Mhm.
I would say that it's about a 50-50 shot, just guessing from my perspective, but I think that makes Carlos Hyde at least a weak fill-in replacement if you have an Antonio Gibson or somebody that is having a bye week. Or Leonard Fournette or somebody like that.
Right. I'm not as high on either of those guys, but again, each their own. Who you want in a run.
What would you say, like, at the end of your waivers then? Like, would you just avoid picking up anybody over those guys?
If you need a running back, then sure. But I don't like Latavius Murray has been outrushed by someone on the team every week but one. So week 1 he had 10 rushes. Week 2 he had 9. Week 3 he had 7. 4 he had 18. Week 5 he had 6. Week 6 he had someone who you hate bringing up, I would bring up anyway. Lamar Jackson 12, 16, 7, 7, 8, 12. So he's getting beat quarterback, and he's in the lead. Like he is back there, not the lead back by much. So that's just like the from Latavius Murray, but mainly just take away from Baltimore's running back role. I like that.
We're gonna need Cody to leave and come back. We've gotten comments from the Second Take Extra citing that Cody needs to leave and come back. I imagine you did say that it was because he was cutting out, but I think it was probably because he was disagreeing with me. So I guess we will see if that helped.
Oh, is that better?
It has been through the 3 words that you've said so far.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
So can you explain that again so we can hear what you're talking?
So all I was saying was that Latavius Murray has been outran
by Lamar.
By Lamar, or Freeman's pushing for some work back there. Tyson Williams was pushing for some work when he was healthy. So
he's been healthy all year.
He didn't play in week 4 and 6.
Yeah, he's just been a healthy scratch.
Right. Well, when he played,
I agree. I think Tyson Williams is the most talented running back there. It just seems for some reason like they don't want him in the game. Maybe because he's too good. They're like, we want to save this guy for maybe even next year, or just another time where we want a good running back.
I mean, they have Le'Veon. To go back to Le'Veon, I think we'd agree Le'Veon Bell, just the name alone, but also like he has a lot of talent, and he's not even being utilized. I mean,
I think Le'Veon's been bad there so far, though.
I mean, to say Le'Veon Bell is not a good running back, I think is crazy when we just praised Adrian Peterson. I mean,
I'd say Adrian Peterson has done more in recent than Le'Veon Bell has, which is kind of crazy.
I think so, but Le'Veon, I don't know. It could also have been how they used him. He's only played 3 games. The situations in which they make him run the ball are not as like giving, but I think he's a lot of talent. If someone has Le'Veon Bell or Adrian Murray,
okay. We are right back to bad cut, Cody. It is today is going to be a battle. Not only a battle between the two of us, but a battle against technology as well. Who will come out on top? I think you have to stay for the whole episode to see that. Moving on to wide receivers. If Tody can make it through, we hopefully can hear who his wide receiver pickups are for the rest of the week, or for waivers, sorry.
All right. Van Jefferson and Russell are the 2 guys I'm targeting this week.
Van Jefferson and Russell Gage. Any reasoning for that? We'll see if we can.
I was a little afraid that we. I just like matchups this week with Calvin Ridley potentially being out. They're going to need a number 1 pass catcher for Atlanta. Van Jefferson's more of a deeper shot. I just said his name first because it's Van. I think that's a cooler name than Russell. So, but I like Russell Gage more so than Van Jefferson, but I think both of those guys are in a conversation. But Russell Gage is the number 1 wide receiver for me, the 3rd person off of my waiver pickup.
Interesting. Again, risking by asking this question, but we saw Tajay Sharp and other guys get involved the last week, just to play devil's advocate here, and Russell Gage didn't. I'm pretty sure he didn't get on the board last week. He played 36 offensive snaps, but didn't get targeted. Does that worry you at all?
It does, but I think Russell Gage has talent, and I think if Calvin Ridley is going to miss time, they're going to need someone to stand above the crowd, and I think Russell Gage has the best shot on that team to stand above the crowd. But yeah, the lack of targets are a little worrisome, but I still think that Atlanta's going to have to throw to someone.
Now, another thing, again, playing devil's advocate here, if I can spell Russell Gage, you mentioned standing above the crowd. Russell Gage is only 6 feet tall. Does that concern you at all for his ability to stand above the crowd? Is he going to have to hop back on the shoulders of one of his taller teammates if he wants to do that?
No, I think, height's not always on the outside. Stuart Little said that once.
That's fair enough. I see the unfortunate thing for Stuart Little is not only was he little, although I don't know if Stuart Little was little in comparison to the species of being mice. His name was also Little, which just kind of like doubles down on the fact that you are little and brings more attention to it than I think would be if your name was like Stuart Jones or something like that.
Potentially.
But again, Russell Gage's name isn't Russell Little. It's Gage. And if I had to gauge where he is at height-wise, I would say 6 foot straight. But whether he can stand above the crowd, I guess, is to be determined. My wide receiver pickup is Jamal Agnew. We mentioned this yesterday. He kind of is filling in where we thought LaVisca would be, which is that short area of the field passing game usage. He's gotten a ton of targets of late. 12 targets last week. He had 6 the week before and 7 the week before that, all of which he totaled over 10 points in full point PPR, and had 5 catches. So I don't think it's really a high upside play. It's more of that safer, I would say, like Hunter Renfrow-esque kind of player, where maybe just a safe floor bye week guy, but you never know. I mean, he's a pretty explosive guy. We've seen that from some of his kick returns, most notably the long field goal that the Cardinals went for that he returned for, I believe, a record-setting kick return. So we know his ability to just make plays with the ball in his hand. So it's really no surprise, I guess, that the Jags would look to get him the ball. But it does seem like a lot of his targets are going to come more in the short area of the field, and it's going to be more reliant on him to make plays after the catch.
Right. I like it. I like him.
Stuart Little or Boston Scott rest of the season is a very good question.
Stuart Little. I think just his shiftiness and the fact that defenses won't be able to see him move right away because he'd be so small, make them jump off sides just because he could like move a tiny bit and they wouldn't even notice. So he could like flinch and then the defense just jumps and easy yards. So
I think I agree that like he's going to be able to hide behind the line pretty well. I don't think they're going to be able to see him until he cuts through, already made his cut through the hole, and then is gone to the races. The one thing I am worried about with Stuart Little is injury concerns, because I don't know if they make pads the size of mice. And that's the one thing that worries me about him going forward. As for Toadi's tight end pickups, that is really it for my pickups. But we move on with your recommendations for the rest of the list. If you want to round us out.
Yeah. Once again, Tyler Conklin is on the list, on the love list. Number 8 scoring fantasy tight end this week. I don't know like how much I can like praise him before people like realize he's kind of good. Also, Dan the Man Arnold, a revival in Jacksonville.
The revival. I think that's an interesting word to use, because was Dan Arnold ever – I mean, he is alive, like literally speaking. But was there a time where you were like Dan Arnold before?
I mean, we, 6, he only got 5 targets. Just disrespectful to a man who's literally Dan the Man. Like, you should give him his respective targets. He got 10 last week, so back to being the man. I like it. And I like the matchup this week. As far as defenses go for the week, I like Cowboys and Dolphins, both respectively playing mediocre opponents, and both you can be picked up in less than 50% leagues. For kickers, I like Mason Crosby and E. McPherson. So both of those guys, if you need a kicker to win your week, right there, baby.
E. McPherson. Okay. Thank you, Toady, for rounding us out there. And that is our waiver discussion. Moving on, obviously, as we mentioned today, is the trade deadline day. Right. Actually, before we get into that, I do want to mention some honorable mentions. If you have any, I have a couple to throw out there.
Let's hear it.
Alex Collins is still owned in less than 50% of leagues. Brandon Ayuk, saw 7 targets this week, so encouraging for his usage going forward. Definitely, I think, worth checking, maybe adding to the end of your bench depending on your team. Will Fuller is expected to come off of IR soon. Alexander Madison, if you have Dalvin Cook, you should have Alexander Madison. And that's basically the end of that discussion. Sony Michel, same thing as far as Darrell Henderson. Rashad Bateman as well. I've talked about him on a couple things here. Just someone that I'm very interested in adding as a very high upside play in Baltimore. Devontae Freeman, just somebody in that Ravens backfield is going to have to be good. So I think that's somebody to look at. Marlon Mack, if he were to get traded today, is possibly someone that I would look at depending where he goes. It's going to, again, depend on if he is traded or not. And that is it for those.
I like it.
We do have some news in. I feel weird talking about this because, I feel like it's more serious than what our show is. But there's breaking news as far as Henry Ruggs is concerned, where he was the driver. And this is all reported. I would hope that this information is not true because that would mean that someone has not passed away. But if it is true, the Metro Police have confirmed that Raiders player Henry Ruggs was the driver in this morning's fatal crash and showed signs of impairment. He will be charged with DUI resulting in death. Obviously, just a shitty, an awful situation.
Terrible.
And we really don't know what this is going to result in, but something that I guess, unfortunately, I think fantasy managers are the last people that we're concerned about here, but something that I guess you have to pay attention to going forward. There's still little information on it. All of this news is coming out. That's kind of that.
That is sobering news.
Interesting word to choose there. Moving on, hard to kind of move on from that and talk about
our conversation we're gonna have, but
something else. But that's, I assume, our job. So we're going to talk about, and we are going to talk about some trades that we would like to see done at the deadline, just for fantasy's sake. Maybe freeing Odell, bringing him somewhere where he can shine. Allen Robinson is somebody who has really struggled this year. Maybe a different opportunity would be good for him. We are going to talk about some of the trades that we would like to see for maybe some breakout fantasy seasons for guys the rest of the way. Cody, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. I feel like since you mentioned OBJ, I should start with OBJ. I think OBJ should go to the Falcons. I think the Falcons could probably pick him up for a second and a fourth, potentially. Maybe even not even that high. But Cleveland is vastly underutilizing OBJ's talent. And OBJ does not seem to be playing well. Both his doing and also on the team's part, when he's out there, it just doesn't look like he is. Oh, interesting. I also think that just based off the Calvin Ridley news, the Atlanta team is going to need a number one. And it could be a good way to build up some of your younger guys while having a veteran presence to kind of help them and also alleviate some of the defensive pressure associated with being a top target on your team. When you bring OBJ to a team, he then draws defense's attention just based off the name. So I like OBJ to the Falcons.
I also had a trade planned for OBJ that I would love to see, which is OBJ to Green Bay. Not because it almost rhymes, but kind of because of that. I also think, obviously, it's a situation where they just saw Rob Tonyan go down with an injury. A lot of people talking about Evan Ingram to Green Bay. I would like to see them add Odell just because, like, I think he's just a good complement to Devontae Adams on the other side, another guy who's just very good at getting open, even as these struggles have happened. If you watch Odell play, he's always pretty open. It's just either a bad throw or he can't come down with it. So I would like to see him as the secondary guy there. I think there's a little bit more upside, obviously, with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Like, having that quarterback there, kind of limitless upside from that receiver position. And how could you not love that?
Right. I thought about Green Bay. That was an interesting one. Just the fact that they have Devontae Adams, the retention rate, I feel like would be extremely low. That they would be like, yeah, I'll stay. Because we saw
Devontae
that,
Adams is going to be a free agent at the end of the year, though.
right? But I feel like Devontae Adams just like wants to be in Green Bay. Like that's just how I feel.
There have been differing reports on that.
There has been, but
the only reason I'm and I don't want to focus on like shooting down everyone else's things, but like for Atlanta, I would just say I don't know if they're necessarily like buyers, but they have performed better than we've expected them to, better than I expected them to so far this year. So maybe they would be in the market for a wide receiver.
I also went with Atlanta just because of Calvin Ridley's personal issues or problems. I don't want to call it issues, but personal problems that he's dealing with. Some of them could stem. I'm not going to speculate, but they could be because like the pressure of being the number one guy for your team in a city used to being, or not used to be bad, but like they were in the Super Bowl years ago. There's a lot of pressure that. Felt like it could have been a good help to like take away focus from him and just be more of like more of an ability to like get himself set, so to speak.
I think in NBA terms, you may be called for a personal foul for that because I would say that's a bit of a reach, but I guess that is one way to think about it. Moving on to our second option here, I am going to go with one. I don't know if you put this person on the list, but this one's kind of a twofer because not only does it benefit the player that's leaving, but I think it benefits the player that now gets the opportunity of this player leaving, and that is going to be Melvin Gordon to the Buffalo Bills. I think everybody is very antsy and excited to see what Javonte Williams can do when he has the backfield to himself. I would love to see that. So Melvin Gordon being able to go to Buffalo, which is a high-scoring offense, an offense that has a split backfield right now, and really like one of the only positions where they don't have stud guys. I would say Zach Moss and Devin Singletary are good players, but being able to get a Melvin Gordon, I think would probably be an upgrade over those guys. And yeah, like puts them in a good situation, puts Melvin Gordon in a good situation where I think he would get most of the work in that backfield, and then helps out Javonte Williams as well, giving him most of the work in Denver.
I did not have Gordon on the trade block. Did have Denver on the trade block, but not Gordon. I don't love that trade. I don't. Buffalo already having a crowded backfield is going to look to add more crowdedness to it already. Melvin Gordon is a good running back, but he's not like there are bigger name guys who are not even signed to teams right now who I feel like could be as productive as Melvin Gordon if he went to Buffalo.
It's a bold take.
I mean, you just kind of said Adrian Peterson was your pickup this week, your 1A, your 1B, and Adrian Peterson is 40 years old right now.
I thought he was 57.
Oh, I double checked. He's 40. He was born in 1908 here. So he also, a lot older. I think you can just Todd Gurley's still out there. Le'Veon Bell was just picked up. Like there are some named guys who could go to Buffalo if they were looking to add more people to their crowded backfield. I think Devin Singletary and Zach Moss are functional backs, and yes, I think it would benefit Buffalo to get a lead guy, but Melvin Gordon's not the lead guy in my opinion.
Interesting. I'm talking about these also more from I would like to see it fantasy-wise, and they're somewhat realistic, then it would be good for both of these teams.
I don't know if it'd be good for – I don't know if it'd be good for Denver. I feel like –
Well, I just said that I don't know that it would – I care about it being great for either of these teams.
Yeah, I don't know. I took mine a little bit more serious. It's kind of
I guess so.
I put D-Watt to Denver. So that is
D-Watt?
Deshaun Watson, for those of you who don't know.
I thought you were talking about Derek Watt.
Who is Derek Watt?
Continue your Deshaun Watson talk.
Thank you. Denver, I think they have 3 wide receivers who are functional, one being a great young stud in Jerry Jeudy. They have 2 good running backs in Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. I just don't think Teddy Bridgewater is the quarterback they need. I think he's a functional quarterback, and I think he's a good backup. But I don't think he's going to lead a team to the Super Bowl or much less like the playoffs. I think Deshaun Watson would make a great pickup for Denver. I think it would give them a little bit of a bump on offense, more so than Teddy Bridgewater, and also it would clear Houston from that drama.
Definitely be a big one if it happened, and if he was going to play, which I'm not sure if that's going to happen this year or not, whether he gets traded or not, would definitely help out those pass catchers there. We were kind of talking about that yesterday as far as them being a team where it feels like those weapons are being held back a little bit by the quarterback play. And there's a lot of stuff going on with Deshaun Watson right now, but we know that when he's on the field, he is a very good quarterback. So moving on to my next one, it's a guy that I think a lot of people have talked about. We talked about with Evan Ingram. I would like to see him go to Tennessee. We've seen them, number one, have a successful tight end in that offense. Jonnu Smith, I believe, was a top 12 tight end last year, or was on pace to be a top 12 tight end last year, barring injury. I think he did finish as the top 12 tight end last year.
New Smith?
Yes. And I think Evan Ingram would be a good addition, especially with the backfield now not in the same spot that it's in. I think adding more pass catchers and with the health of Julio Jones kind of being up in the air from week to week would be a very good idea for them. So if Evan Ingram is on the market, I would like to see Tennessee get him. I think it would be a really good opportunity for him as well as the Titans to really build out this passing offense that I think is going to have to carry the way for them a lot more than they expected heading into the season or even just a week ago.
All right, I think I'm looking at the right guy. And I'm looking at the right year. It said Jonnu Smith averaged 6.6 fantasy points in Tennessee last year.
Okay.
6.6, not a incredible number by any stretch of the imagination. I could be wrong. I'm trying to double check it here. Oh, with catches, he averaged 9.3.
Were we not counting his catches?
Well, I mean, he only had 40 of them, so I mean, it's not exactly monster number.
40 of them.
I mean, if we're gonna do 40 catches over the course of the season is monster numbers, and I think most tight ends now would have that. But I don't love Evan Ingram to Titans. They have like 6 guys on their team already.
Who?
I mean, good people or just people on their roster already?
I mean, I would hope that most teams have 6 players on their roster.
They have 6 tight ends on their roster, though.
But who?
Cole Pruitt, Geoff Swain.
Okay, yeah, but my point is,
Right.
How do they compare to Evan Ingram?
I mean, they have Delaney Walker. Delaney Walker's just not playing.
They definitely do not have Delaney Walker on their roster.
Okay. I mean, he's still listed on the Tennessee Titans page, and he's still listed on ESPN playing for Tennessee.
I do not believe that Delaney Walker, number 1, plays football, and number 2, plays for the I don't care what it says on there. On there, it says Eli Manning's still on the Giants.
I mean, if I look on the Giants, it doesn't say Eli Manning's name, though. It says...
I think I've already got this one. If you are arguing that Delaney Walker is on the Titans and that's why Evan Ingram to the Titans is a bad trade, then I think I've already won this argument.
I'm just saying they got 6 people. That's all I said. And you want to know who. I read out your name.
Yeah, and you said one of them was Delaney Walker.
He's listed on their team page, both team pages for ESPN. That's all I'm saying.
On ESPN. ESPN is the all-knowing God of the world.
I mean, hey, ESPN is where we stream the sports. So, I mean, kind of, a little bit.
ESPN, where the sports are streamed.
I mean, I'm just saying, they don't have, I don't know, I don't think Evan, why would the Giants do it, though? Like, who's the Giants tight end that they're going to have?
They have Rudolph, and they just signed him in the offseason. I'm not arguing that these are I don't know why I'm getting freaking checked and it's like a freaking background check just for me to throw a hypothetical trade out there. It's absurd. I throw any trade out there. Cody's like, no, that could never happen. And it explains why these fake trades that we made up aren't going to happen. My guess is that none of them are going to happen. But I'm getting freaking checked, held against the wall, little pat down for saying Evan Ingram to the Titans could be a good move.
Well, you just said it could be a good move. I don't see how that could be.
But you're saying because they have 6 tight ends on the roster, they actually have 3 tight ends on the roster, and it's Geoff Swain. I know it's Jeff, but why do you spell Jeff like that? Anthony Ferkser and Michael Pruitt. I would say Evan Ingram is an upgrade over any of those guys.
Tough.
Okay. Who was your next one?
Here are the tight. I see 6 people on the roster again.
I don't know where you're looking. You're looking on ESPN. So look somewhere else.
Nope, I'm looking.
Or just we can just stop talking about Evan Ingram to the Titans. That could also be a good thing.
I'm looking on Titans side.
I'm just kind of tired of it at this point. I don't think he needs to go to the Titans this badly that we have to spend 6 minutes looking up how many tight ends are on the Titans roster, and you keep saying that Delaney Walker is on the tight ends of the Tennessee Titans.
I don't know why you're getting so bad of shape. I said there's 6 people on the Titans. Delaney Walker.
6 people on the Titans. There's 53 people on the Titans, actually.
Probably more. You are bent out of shape right now.
Are you going to say someone else?
Bent out of shape. I don't know why
I'm
you're
not.
I don't know why you're mad.
I'm getting fired up.
Yeah,
I'm passionate about this. And also, you literally can look on the Tennessee Titans' own website and see that they only have 3 tight ends. So
they only have 3 tight ends.
That's exactly what I just said. Yes.
Looked on 3 websites. I've seen 6 on all 3.
I don't know where you are looking.
I just tried to tell you, and then you said, I don't know why we're
talking. You said ESPN, and that was it.
Sized.com, the Titans website.
Titans.com-team-depth chart. They have 3 people on there. We cannot keep talking about this because this is taking way too long to argue about something that does not matter.
You are bent out of shape. I love it.
I'm not bent out of shape.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to move on.
Oh, there it is. Love it. Absolutely love it.
What is?
I love it.
I don't know what you... I'm very confused. Can you please just mention somebody else so we can keep this moving?
I said Jamal Williams to Tennessee.
Okay.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
You do know that they just brought in 2 running backs, don't you?
They brought in 1 running back with Adrian Peterson.
They just signed Deontay Foreman and...
running backs, Tennessee. Let me look.
They already have 3 running backs on the depth chart.
They do. They also have 3 guys on IR, though. Not all healthy. So
they actually have, well, I guess if Derrick Henry goes, then they have 2, but they just brought in 2, so that would give them 4.
Right.
Does that concern you?
No, because people use running backs way more than because otherwise we'd be talking about Kyle Rudolph, or we'd be talking about me Firsker, or we'd be talking about I don't know, someone like Noah Gray, Blake Bell. Talk about these backup types. Talk about backup running back time, as in Devontae Williams.
Well, if you choose like good backups, I presume that there might be some. I mean, we talk about Jonnu and Hunter Henry a decent amount.
Do we though? I don't think I talk about very much.
Okay. Talk about him.
Okay, you can.
I don't have a Hunter Henry thing on here.
Okay. No.
There's there's very much aggression coming out of Cody today. I'm not sure that I like it.
Yelling at me.
I'm not yelling at you.
You said, and I quote, I don't know why.
I said that there are less than 6 tight ends on the Titans roster, and I was correct.
Ruggs does face charges.
I mean, I don't.
That's tough.
That had to get brought up there.
Well, I mean, it just popped up on the news feed. And I was going to forget
about it.
What do you think that means?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't want to talk about it without knowing a lot more than we currently do.
All right. I think it boosts Hunter Renfrow.
I don't know. I just feel like it's the wrong time to talk about a freaking like the fantasy implications of like what just happened. That's my personal thing on
it. Is it though? I mean, like Hunter.
We don't have to get into the philosophy of it right now. Can we just not sincerely not talk about that right now? Like I'm not joking.
Sure, for you, Kondo.
Okay. Moving on with this list, I had one that I have a hunch Cody's going to hate. Just to stay on par with everything else that we've had so far, I have Allen Robinson to the New England Patriots. Allen Robinson has just been in a very tough situation. We know the talent there. I think that New England is in search of a true number 1, especially on the outside. They have some good receivers there, but I don't think anyone would say that they have a receiver on the level of Allen Robinson. I think it would be good for him because it would give him a spot where I think he would be the number one, like the clear number one. I think he's kind of splitting with Darnell Mooney at this point, and it would give a boost to Darnell Mooney. I would say, I don't know if it would give enough of a boost that we're talking about him in like a fantasy way of being a consistent startable wide receiver. But as for Allen Robinson, I think that it could make him a consistent starting wide receiver once again.
Yeah. Free Allen Robinson from that quarterback and franchise situation.
Agreed. Do you have any others?
I put just another OBJ. I said OBJ to New England. I think there's a chance Bill Belichick deal with OBJ the extra. I think Dark to the Bears be a funny one. Just would be a funny one. Though just interesting.
Okay, Gardner Minshew to the Bears and OBJ to New England. I had one more as well. I'm not going to put it up on the screen, but I think Jameson Crowder to the Detroit Lions would be an interesting one. Their team that likes to throw the ball short. Jameson Crowder is a guy that likes to catch the ball in the short area of the field. I think he could be a target monster if he was to go there. Obviously, Jets have a lot of wide receivers there. That's it for our trade discussion. I think that went very well, very civil.
I think this was a good episode.
Yeah. Going through some of the questions now, comments. Tyreek Hill went off, and the second take extra one.
I'm glad you won.
Yes, we are very glad you won. This one's going to be a heartbreaker for you, Cody. Trade Kyler and get Kirk Cousins.
You could.
It's your two favorite quarterbacks.
Yeah. Kirk Cousins, favorite fan. Not my favorite. You could do it if you want to. I ain't gonna yell at you.
I would not do it if it was my team, but you are free to do whatever you choose to do. My recommendation would be against it, though. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to trade Kyler Murray for Kirk Cousins, but I'll do it like an unreal deal. You always crazy deal. But Kyler Murray higher than Kirk Cousins, so
Kyler Murray higher than Kirk Cousins. Do I pick up Taysom Hill in my one quarterback league? Obviously, I would say yes. Cody would say no. We kind of talked about that earlier on. The second take extra is crying because he doesn't have Carson Wentz on his team. I think it's running back by committee for the Titans, like the Ravens and the 49ers. I agree. I think we both agree. I think we're just not sure who benefits the most from that. And I wouldn't say that anybody is too sure of who benefits the most from that.
Like if down,
you are cutting out bad. So we might just have to keep this quick and move through. Would you rather have Gainwell, Madison, or two of these guys pick two? I'm confused. Two of like the waiver guys, so I could take extra. We can wait on that response. Is Brian Edwards a waiver wire pickup? I would say no. I think Cody would also say no. We answered that question. We did not answer Stuart Little or Kyler rest of the season. Cody, that's more a decision for you. Maybe just a quick answer. Stuart. Okay. No love for Muth. No. Pat Fryermuth did not make our list. I think he's somebody to look forward at. Like, I don't know if I'm wasting a waiver claim on him unless I'm like desperate for a tight end at this point. Should I drop Madison and get AJ Dillon? I got Aaron Jones. I think in the case of you having Aaron Jones, it is an okay move.
Yeah, if you do.
I did see this news pop up. Philip Rivers said that he is interested in like hearing from the New Orleans Saints. I don't think that's how it works, though. I think the Saints have to be interested in you before you are interested in the Saints. Still a long way to go as far as that's concerned. I'm not really reading too much into that. I think this is a great one. Cooper Kupp, Toadi's entire team rest.
It's tough.
I will not answer out of respect for Toadi's team. Which player drinks the most milk in the NFL? So off air, I had this discussion with the person who asked this question, and we were talking about all the injuries, and I'm just like, guys don't drink milk like they used to. And I think that's really the problem with today in general. We're not drinking milk. And when people do drink milk, it's like the almond milk or the oat milk. Nobody's drinking the milk from the teat anymore. And I think that might be the problem with all of these just frail bones nowadays.
I agree.
Okay. Which player drinks the most milk in the NFL?
Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald is probably the right answer there. I will side with you on that. What's the status on J-Rob? He is day-to-day, according to the coaches, and his status for this weekend is up in the air. We will give you more information as we learn on that. Melvin Gordon getting traded. I think it's a long shot. I think it's a long shot to see many trades happen today that are big-name players. But I think just for the hypothetical of the game, it would have been pretty boring if we said maybe like a third string tight end or a fourth string running back or like kind of back end guys in trades.
I mean, how many really every year?
Not many at the deadline. It's just very different from most of the or most of the other mainstream sports. Watson not getting traded, apparently, in a report that's out. Yeah, I mean, they were kind of talking about that it's a long shot. I'm not surprised with just everything going on with him. Teams don't want to take the risk.
I think I just lost.
On that note, we are, I think, done for the day. I think Cody not Cody, but like whatever his Wi-Fi or his phone or anything that is involved with his side of the production of this show just needs a break. So it's a very good thing we have a day off today. Let that thing rest, recoup. And quickly, should I pick up the Titans running backs or keep Gainwell and A.J. Dillon? I think that you should keep A.J. Dillon. I would take a chance on one of the Titans running backs, really, whoever you feel better about. I think at the end of the day, that is more of a personal choice than like one where one guy is going to perform. Like one guy is definitely going to perform better than the other.
Right.
It's anybody's best guess at this point. That is it for us, unless there are any questions in my sign-off. Like I mentioned, we will not be here tomorrow, but we will be back on Thursday to break down Thursday night football and some of the rest of the Sunday slate, as well as any trades that happened in the next hour and a half. So we will see y'all on Thursday.
See you then.